You guys, I just pulled into Home Goods and I have some returns to make, but I'm also on the lookout for some beach chairs. So we're gonna go check it out. I just ordered myself a cold brew with some sweet cream
cold foam. Gosh.
And not gonna lie, this one's actually pretty good. I'm normally a Starbucks girly, but we went to Dunkin' today to test the waters, and this was like $1.50 cheaper and pretty good. So, all right, let's go ahead and head into the store and see what we find. So I've been reading the last couple days Divine Rivals by Rebecca Ross, and I have some thoughts. I'm not too far in so far. I'm on page 114 and it's good. I will say that I feel the beginning has been slow going. I didn't really know what this book was about. I went in completely blind, so maybe I shouldn't do that because I get kind of confused and I'm trying to figure out the world and I have questions, and I should probably just figure that out before I go into it. Anyway, this book revolves around a girl named Iris whose brother just got sent off to this war to fight in this battle between like two gods. There's like a war going in this world, and it's kind of set in like, it's almost like a historical fiction but with magical elements. And he gets sent off to war, so she is now working at this like newspaper place doing the obituaries, and she's an intern. Things have kind of turned down for her in her life. Her mom is struggling and there's like a bunch of things going on, and so she decides to write letters to her brother, but they're not getting like, she's not getting any returns like mail from him. But she continues to write, and she leaves the letter underneath her wardrobe, and she gets a response, but she doesn't know who the response is from. So now she's like communicating with somebody. She has no idea who it is. So far, I do like Iris. I feel for her. The storyline is interesting. Again, I think that the world building is just, it's not fully fleshed out. It's mostly just about the characters and less about the fantasy world going on and like the war and stuff. It's less about that, more about her, but we have to use that as like the subplot and the foundation for this story. So yeah, that's where I'm at. It's between her and Rowan, one of them. And it's like a dual POV. I do really like the back and forth between them and kind of banter. It's very slow going, again, with this romance storyline, but it's giving You've Got Mail, which is really cute. And there were some emotional parts of the story where I really feel for both of our main characters, and their lives are just hard in different ways. So that's where I'm at. We're gonna keep reading. I'll give you guys an update if I have any further thoughts on where I'm at, but I'm not going to give you any spoilers, so I'm just telling you my overall thoughts on this reading experience. I feel like it's taken me forever to get to this point, but we're here, we made it, we finished Divine Rival. Listen, I have some thoughts. I'm gonna give you guys my rating at the end, but first I want to talk about my experience with reading this book. I've been seeing it everywhere online, and my initial thought was that it was going to be a very fast-paced, intense, stressful type of YA fantasy where there's like a lot of intense action sequences going on. Just from the name, I didn't really know what to expect. It ended up being way more emotional and slower paced than I originally thought, which ended up kind of taking me a little aback from my reading experience, and I was almost not enjoying it because I had such high expectations and I thought it was going to be something completely different than it ended up being. That being said, I did really enjoy the storyline and the writing was beautiful. I've never read a book by Rebecca Ross before, but I think she's got me hooked on her writing after reading this book. There was many beautiful quotes that I ended up tabbing here. And because this is my Owl Crate edition, I didn't want to make any highlights, so I only tabbed quotes that I thought were memorable and worth leaving a mark on. Overall, I really enjoyed the character dynamics between Iris and Roman, and Iris and her typewriter correspondence person. I thought it was all really well done, well written. I do think that the overarching themes of loss were really well done as well, and actually really emotional. The prologue itself had me kind of like with a lump in my throat, and there were multiple scenes in this story that just were really sad, not just with Iris but with other characters in this book as well, and dealing with war and being kind of in the trenches, like literally in the trenches with these soldiers. So it had a lot of themes of just not just enemies to lovers, but we get enemies to lovers, we get grief, we get the action from being in war and then knowing loved ones that are in war. There was a lot going on here. The fantasy was done in a way where you kind of forget you're in a fantasy world. You just have some little magical elements sprinkled in. For example, we have a magical typewriter here, but that's the only thing I can see in this book that was really magical. And then we have a world that is dominated by gods, but we don't really get much from them or how these gods deal with humans and our mortals in this world, other than the fact they're using the mortals in this war against each other. I feel like this book could have not really needed these gods, but maybe we'll get more action from them in book 2, which will be coming out in December. My favorite character has to be Roman. I loved him so much. This book highly reminded me of You've Got Mail with Tom Hanks and Meg Ryan. That is probably one of my favorite movies. Like, it's in the top 5. This movie reminded me a lot of that in a lot of ways. Not saying Roman was Tom Hanks necessarily, but you get a feeling of friendship plus rivals plus love all tangled in this crazy web, and the miscommunication trope was done really well, you know? Overall, I really enjoyed this book. I recommend it to anyone that is in the mood for something that isn't high stakes like Fourth Wing, but is more than a cozy fantasy, if that makes sense. So we're right in the middle. There is no spice, okay? It's gonna be definitely clean, which I absolutely loved. I love that we didn't have any scenes that were graphic in nature like that. It was just more about the emotional side of a relationship, the anxiety that comes with being in war, and how like the brevity of life, and how you want to just take advantage while you're still alive to experience things and to love and have friendship and not let the minutes in your life go to waste. So overall, I really enjoyed it. I gave it a 5-star rating on Goodreads. However, I want to give this like maybe a 4.5 stars, only because I do feel like I wish the pacing was a little faster. And because we're in the middle of a war in this book, I wanted to feel more from it than I did. It took me longer to read, I think just because of the writing. It was so well done and intricate and not necessarily mature because it's YA, but it's not something I could just speed read through. I took my time with this book, but in a good way. I think the only reason why I wouldn't give it 5 stars is, again, I just wish it was a little more action-packed, and maybe the scenes where we get a background on the world and like the world building, the gods and things like that. I wish it was a little more fun or exciting, and I just kind of was like, okay, yeah, it's here. Let's keep going with the story. So that's what I would say. But I'm very happy I read this. I'm excited for book 2 to come out December 26th. And I think everyone should read this book. Definitely. And if you get a chance to grab the Owl Crate copy, I would recommend it because it's stunning. It is just the prettiest book. And let me show you the background, or the reversible dust jacket. We have Iris and Roman. in what looks to be some sort of newspaper office space with the typewriters, and it's so pretty. I love it. I love that they do that, so I can kind of go back and forth, but for right now I'm gonna leave it at this one. And yeah, that is my experience with reading Divine Rivals. What do you think? What are your thoughts? Have you read this book? It has been everywhere. Everyone has loved this book. I haven't heard any really negative reviews on it so far, so would love to know your thoughts on it. Let me know in the comments, and if you want to see more reading vlogs, go ahead and click down below. But until next time, I'll catch you in my next video. Mwah. Bye!